y'all deserve to feel special. Y'all deserve to root the Texans on. Like, not winning since 2021, like, that ain't flying from, like, anybody in this building. I want them to know, like, we're fighting our tails off every day to make sure y'all walk around with Texan gear pride. Y'all walk around with that swag that we walk around with when we get a dub. And for me, I take that real personal because I don't like being bagged on by my teams. Like, when my Lakers lose, I'll be pissed. So.
Rookie quarterback CJ Stroud is having a historic season for the Houston Texans, and it's honestly pretty impressive, including that he's coming out of Ohio State that hasn't had much success with NFL quarterbacks. But Stroud right now is on pace to set many NFL quarterback rookie records. And I'm not really sure anybody saw him being this good off rip, but man, it's been really fun to watch. Now, I was actually somebody that was pretty high on CJ Stroud during the draft process. I made multiple videos during April, during March, around those months about all these top quarterback prospects, including Anthony Richardson and Bryce Young. And I thought CJ Stroud should have been the #1 overall pick. I just thought as far as what he showed in college, as far as being a precision passer, along with his arm talent and just some of the playmaking that he showed in the college football playoff game against the Georgia Bulldogs, I thought he was the perfect balance between a pretty high upside guy, but also a guy that could step in and be pretty efficient right away. So I liked him over Bryce Young because that was the huge debate for the #1 overall pick. Many people saw Anthony Richardson as too raw of a prospect, just not super accurate in college, has a long way to go to develop his raw talent. It was really between CJ Stroud and Bryce Young, two California kids, two friends as well. I actually figured out during the videos I made about them both. They grew up together. They actually played each other a couple times in high school. They have a decent relationship. So that was a fun little wrinkle regarding them and the debate who should go #1. But I sided with Stroud from the beginning. So when the Panthers did elect to take Bryce Young over CJ Stroud, I was pretty disappointed in them. I thought especially for Frank Reich's offense that really utilizes a pocket passer and somebody that is really good on schedule, on script, that CJ Stroud was the best fit for that offense. But hey, they didn't do that. They went ahead and drafted Bryce Young, and the Houston Texans are so glad that they did that because right now CJ Stroud is looking like the best quarterback from this draft class and really one of the best quarterbacks in the entire league. He's got the Texans at a 2-2 record through the first month of the season. He's completing 62.3% of his passes for 1,200 yards, 6 touchdowns to 0 interceptions, and has a ridiculous 100.6 quarterback rating as a 22-year-old. Stroud is also the only player in NFL history to total 1,200 plus passing yards and no interceptions through the first 4 starts. And also because of his performance in week number 4 against the Steelers, he became the first rookie since the merger to throw for 250 plus yards and 2 touchdowns and no interceptions in 3 consecutive games. And with those 1,200 passing yards, he's only second behind Cam Newton for the most in their first 4 games. And he's currently averaging 303 pass yards a game, which means if he did this for the rest of the regular season, he would end with 5,151 pass yards, which would obliterate the current record by Andrew Luck for rookie passing yards, which is only 4,374. So what Stroud is doing right now is absolutely historic, and he's looking like a superstar that the Texans were super fortunate to get their hands on. But what makes these stats and these records even more impressive is the supporting cast that he's doing this with. I don't know about you guys, but going into the season, I saw the Texans as a 6 or 7 win team, not a playoff contending team, not the worst team in the league, but a team that takes a step in year 2 of a rebuild. And pretty much so far, that's the trajectory that they're on. But when you look at their offensive line and the injuries that they have suffered on that unit, it's almost impossible to assume that CJ Stroud would be able to perform well behind it. I mean, they're all pro left tackle, one of the best in the league, in Laramie Tunsil, has only played in 1 game this year. And then their other tackle, Titus Howard, who they paid in the offseason, he hasn't even taken a snap this year. He's been on IR. He hasn't even suited up for a game. So that tackle duo for the Texans, which is supposed to be one of the best in the league, haven't even played 1 game together for their rookie quarterback. They also traded for Josh Jones from the Arizona Cardinals in the offseason. He didn't play last week against the Steelers as well. And their first round pick from the 2022 draft, Kenyon Green, hasn't played at all season as well due to a shoulder injury ending his season before it even began. And then also their second round pick from this past year, Juice Scruggs, he hasn't played a single game either this year. So you have all of these injuries across the offensive line. And then against the Steelers' vaunted pass rush, you're basically running out 4 backups. Stroud still threw for 300 yards and 2 touchdowns with a 111.3 quarterback rating and no turnovers. I don't think people truly understand how ridiculous that is, that a rookie quarterback has 4 backups on his offensive line, and he's still producing. He's not turning the ball over. He's not rushing and panicking in the pocket. That is what has impressed me the most about CJ Stroud through the first 4 weeks of the season. And the weaponry for the Texans isn't super spectacular either. Some rookies are very fortunate going into really good situations that have a lot of weapons on the outside. I think back to Justin Herbert's rookie year where he didn't have a super good offensive line, but he had Keenan Allen, he had Hunter Henry, he had Mike Williams, he had Austin Eckler. He had a lot of nice weapons that made it a little bit easier for him and helped him out as a young player. Stroud has been producing with mostly unproven players on his offense. You think about Dameon Pierce, I thought he was really impressive as a rookie. He hasn't been super impressive this year. That's really because of the offensive line. It's really hard for them to run. He's only averaging 2.8 yards per carry. And then the wide receiver core of Nico Collins, Robert Woods, and Tank Dell. I think Nico Collins is actually a good player. I mean, he's already got 428 yards this year along with 3 touchdowns. But I mean, come on. Going into this year, I don't think anybody saw Nico Collins having this good of a start to the season. And I know Tank Dell had some hype due to his performance in the preseason and how he looked in there, how much juice he had on some certain plays. But he's even stepped in and looked pretty nice as a deep threat down the field. He's got 267 yards and 2 touchdowns for the first 4 games as well. And then really tying the entire unit together is Robert Woods, the longtime veteran entering his 10th year in the league. I feel like he's been the safety blanket for Stroud. When it's third down, when he needs to trust somebody to get open and make a play, that's really been Robert Woods. He's only got 191 yards. He doesn't have a touchdown on the season, but he's been pretty valuable in that role. And the last big name weapon for the Texans that I think has been pretty disappointing so far is Dalton Schultz. They signed him away from the Dallas Cowboys during the offseason, and he just hasn't been the difference maker yet of the player that they were expecting him to be. He's got 10 catches for 89 yards and a touchdown, but he's already got 2 drops on the year. We'll see if he continues to improve throughout the year. So when you really put in some context to what CJ Stroud is working with and how well he's been performing despite having a pretty banged up offensive line and pretty average weapons when you compare it to the rest of the league, it makes the start to his NFL career just that much more impressive. And I think that's where we got to give some credit to Bobby Slowick, their new offensive coordinator from the San Francisco 49ers. The Shanahan offense that he's bringing over, I definitely think fits CJ Stroud's skill set very well. It allows him to utilize the middle of the field, his accuracy, his timing, his anticipation, and those are all really big strengths of CJ Stroud's game. I think heading into this year, it was a little bit unknown how well he was going to perform right away since this is his first time being an offensive coordinator, especially with a young quarterback, and he's done a really good job. And I think we're going to continue to hear more about Slowick and maybe potentially head coaching jobs down the line if this continues. So if you have not been paying attention to CJ Stroud and what he's been able to do to start off his NFL career, I would start paying attention because we could be witnessing a historic rookie season and maybe the next elite quarterback. The Texans play at Atlanta this week. I think that should be a pretty good game. The Falcons defense has improved a lot from last year. They're currently 10th in the NFL in scoring defense, only allowing 19.3 points per game. But this is going to be another really nice test for CJ Stroud and this offense, and it's going to be fun to see what he can do against the Falcons and the rest of the season. Just imagine how much more growth we can see out of Stroud once his offensive line gets healthy. He gets Laramie Tunsil back, he gets Titus Howard back. It's just got to be an exciting time for Houston Texan fans. I think you might have found your quarterback of the future, but I want to know what you think about CJ Stroud and his start so far to his NFL career. Do you need to see more before you crown him as the best rookie quarterback in recent memory, or do you see Stroud breaking all the records this year? But subscribe to the channel if you're new, drop a like on the video if you did enjoy it, and as always, thank you so much for watching the video, and I'll catch you guys in my next one.